Thank you. We'll now recognize Mr. Burlison for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sussman, in your testimony, you noted that the GSU, the Graduate Student Union, they illegally threatened to terminate anyone who refused to pay for their activism. You filed a charge against the GSU with the NLRB regarding them violating your Beck rights. While the NLRB did agree that your rights had been violated, do you believe that they addressed the issue adequately?
No.
Can you elaborate?
Sure. They required that the union send out a PDF stating our rights, and then the union officers continued to do exactly the same thing that they had been doing all along. So
they just continued. They're not doing any enforcement whatsoever.
That's correct.
Have you noticed other examples of politically motivated activity within the GSU that they pushed on their members?
They spend all of their time protesting against Israel.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
They spend all of their time protesting against Israel.
Okay. So they're spending so much time pushing against Israel. Did they take any steps whatsoever to protect the rights of their Jewish members?
No.
That you can recall?
Not that I can recall.
That's tragic. Mr. Taubman, in your testimony that you say that since October 7th and the attack on Israel, labor unions have become organizers of hateful anti-Jewish and anti-Israel propaganda and resolutions. From the discussions that you've had with workers, and it's tragic to hear that you're getting phone calls from all over the nation, have unions, I'll ask the same question, have you seen where unions have stepped in to take steps to protect their Jewish members who are being discriminated against at this time?
Never once, and I have taken calls from all over the country, universities, hospitals, legal aid. Not one employee has ever said to me, oh, the union has helped me, or, oh, I can go to the union and they'll help me. None.
Mr. Taubman, I hesitate to bring this up, but there has been, I know that in my state, for example, there have been lawsuits and complaints against labor unions, particularly, we have areas where there are a high percentage of minorities, and yet the labor unions have a very low percentage of minorities in the single digits. And so there has been, there's often been a history, and I don't know if you have any comments about that it's just the nature of this system to create that somehow emboldens discrimination within labor unions and the history of that.
Sure. I think the bottom line is the old adage, absolute power corrupts absolutely. If I can tell you, pay me or you're going to lose your job because I can get you fired, I would call that absolute dictatorial power in the workplace. And unions spend other people's money. Justice Scalia, in a Supreme Court case called Davenport, recognized that unions have a unique privilege in this country, the privilege of demanding other people's money, which they can then go use on all of these sorts of far-left, intersectional, woke politics, right? It's a lot more fun to go run around and riot on behalf of Hamas than it is to say, let's do a workplace grievance and see if we can get better wages in this place. Because that's boring, that's work. It's more fun to be, intersectional leftists.
Do you think the Beck decision was kind of a compromise rather than throw out? Because I think that the forced unionization is a violation of the First Amendment rights of association. So do you think that the Beck decision was a way to kind of split the baby and say you don't have to join, you don't have to be a member, but you still have to pay? And many of the examples are that you have to pay the exact same amount. And so the question is, do people truly have a right of an association?
Well, yes. And all of these decisions have been split the babies. If you go back to the original duty of fair representation decision, Steele versus Louisville and Nashville Railroad, where the unions were discriminating against black workers and refusing to let them join, The Supreme Court said, oh, we don't want to strike down the Railway Labor Act and these federal laws, so we'll create this thing called the duty of fair representation, and that'll fix the problem. Instead, they should have struck down these laws which violate people's free association rights. And we're going to continue to litigate to make that happen. And hopefully it'll happen in my lifetime.
Thank you for what you do, and I appreciate your comments. My time has expired.
Thank you.